Gordon Chang is coming up, but first, as tensions between the U.S. and China escalate, the Trump administration is considering a ban on travel to the U.S. by members of the Chinese Communist Party and their families. Also under consideration, revoking the visas of party members and their families who are already in the U.S. The proposed ban would be the most provocative act so far by the U.S. against China since the trade war began in 2018. Here with analysis of the current state of the U.S.-China relationship and the sanctions that the U.S. is prepared to impose on China, I'm joined by Asian affairs expert Gordon Chang. Gordon, on Tuesday, President Trump signed legislation mandating sanctions on Chinese officials who were involved in Beijing's crackdown in Hong Kong. And they issued an executive order, or the president did, that ends U.S. preferential treatment for Hong Kong. Listen to this.
Today I signed legislation and an executive order to hold China accountable for its oppressive actions against the people of Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Autonomy Act, which I signed this afternoon, passed unanimously through Congress. This law gives my administration powerful new tools to hold responsible the individuals and the entities involved in extinguishing Hong Kong's freedom.
Gordon, will this do anything to slow Beijing's aggressions in Hong Kong?
I think it will, because there's two things that are important here. First of all, there's the Hong Kong Autonomy Act. Now, visa restrictions aren't going to do very much, but they also call for penalties on financial institutions that do business with sanctioned individuals. And those penalties can be severe, including the cutoff of dollar accounts, which means for a financial institution, that's a death sentence. So that is important. Also, this executive order was sweeping. Not only did it withdraw trading privileges, tariffs, licensing rules, the other thing that it did was it ended extradition with Hong Kong. That's, I think, critically important.
What does it mean going forward to the U.S.-China relationship? I mean, are we seeing the end of even the tepid outreach and the trade negotiations? Is that over?
Yeah, well, certainly there's not going to be a phase 2 trade deal. President Trump talked about that. Phase 1 is also in trouble because China's not meeting its purchase requirements. Under that deal, China agreed to buy an additional $200 billion worth of U.S. goods and services over a 2-year period, and China is well behind schedule.
Many citizens of Hong Kong, Gordon, are looking to leave the country as the situation deteriorates with China's new national security law. Should the president open up the U.S. to the people of Hong Kong?
I think so, because many of them are political refugees. Remember, many of these people are very pro-American. They sang our national anthem. They waved our flag during their protests. Also, they bring a lot of hardworking expertise to the U.S., also money. I think that, when we look at this, this would be a win-win-win for the U.S.
Yeah, I agree. No, and I know a lot of the folks there in Hong Kong, and they are, as you said, they're willing to sing our national anthem when people in our own country want to do away with it. There are also reports of various pro-democracy candidates I read about holding, is it primary elections, Gordon? The regime is not pleased about this, apparently. How do you expect this to end?
Well, this is going to be an ongoing struggle for Beijing. Beijing tried to intimidate the people in Hong Kong with its national security law that it imposed on June 30. But last weekend, people held their own primary for candidates for the September elections for the Legislative Council. And this was stunning, Raymond, because organizers expected only 170,000 people to come out. 610,000 people participated in this. And that is out of a city of 7.4 million people. This was 27% of the electorate for the last LegCo elections. Beijing is really, I think, taken aback by this because they said this primary was illegal under the national security law.
Right.
Well, didn't intimidate people in Hong Kong.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Wednesday made this announcement regarding U.S. travel bans on employees of some of these Chinese tech companies like Huawei and other Chinese companies assisting authoritarian regimes. Watch.
The State Department will impose visa restrictions on certain employees of Chinese technology companies like Huawei that provide material support to regimes engaging in human rights violations and abuses globally.
Now, that announcement came after the British government on Tuesday announced that it would ban Huawei from its 5G networks over concerns that data could be compromised by China. What impact will these visa restrictions have, Gordon?
I think there'll be some impact. But what this really shows is that the State Department and indeed the Trump administration is just got now a whole of government approach to China. They're thinking of absolutely everything. And I think that should worry people in Beijing, because it's not just one high profile action they're taking. They're looking at the whole relationship and they're going at it, taking it apart one step at a time.
Yeah. And as you say, earlier this week, the U.S. sent a destroyer into the South China Sea to challenge the Chinese because they are illegally laying claim to the entire region. Why was this move necessary, and where do you think it'll lead?
It's necessary because Beijing claims sovereignty over the global commons, international water, international airspace. If the U.S. has had one consistent foreign policy over the course of its entire history, it's been the defense of freedom of navigation. So the U.S. does this, and if we allow the Chinese to close off the South China Sea, then other countries will close off other bodies of water. It'll be a very different world than the one that has created this prosperity since World War II.
Wow. Before I let you go, there have been rumblings, no official word yet, that by the end of July, the Vatican and the Chinese could meet in Rome to review and study a possible renewal of that provisional agreement they signed several years ago, which concerns the nomination of bishops. It expires after 2 years. Since the signing of the agreement, life for Chinese Catholics and really all Christians have only gotten worse. Should the Vatican consider extending this agreement, Gordon?
No. I'm sure the Vatican will try to do that. But remember, I think the church has the high cards here, because the Communist Party can't deal with people of faith. And the Catholic Church underground in China is very strong. I don't think the Pope should give away that strength to the Communist Party, because for the party and the church, this is a struggle where there can be only one survivor.
Great words. Thank you, Gordon, for your insight. As always, you can follow Gordon on Twitter at Gordon G. Chang. Thank you again.
Thanks, Raymond.